Before the success stories, the progress, there was you. You who made a choice to grow, to inspire, to overcome your own challenges. At NASM, we're in service of your limitless potential, because when you keep growing, we all get stronger, and we'll never stop making your journey our mission. Join the fitness leader. Become a fitness leader. Become a certified personal trainer.
You're listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Richey, winner of the Share Care Emmy Award for Social Storytelling and the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hey y'all, and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Richey, and today we're going to talk about the health benefits of running, because we did one a week or so ago, a couple weeks back, that was the benefits of walking, and it was really good, and it was all evidence-based, and we went through research. Well, I had some guy reach out. He said, I really, really liked it. He's a runner. He wanted to know, what are the health benefits of running? Well, I'm going to have you know, they're good. They are good. I did a little research on it, spent some time on PubMed and looking through the NIH documentation on it. There's some good stuff out there. Let's look at this one. First of all, on longevity. Longevity, it says that runners have a 25 to 40% reduced risk of premature mortality and live approximately 3 years longer than non-runners. Now, I know for a fact that there are some people on that are listening to this, and you're fitness people, and there are people listening to this saying, I would gladly die 3 years sooner than to start running. And I get it. I understand some people just hate running, and that's all right. But I would like to point out that the benefits of running are paramount. I mean, they're great. And I know, I used to run quite a bit, and now I don't run anymore. And I went for a run with my daughter the other day, and we ran a mile, and I thought, man, that's great. In like 10 or 15 minutes from when we walk out of the house till we get back in the house, 10 to 15 minutes, we ran for a mile. I bet if we did this every single day, and all it was, 10 to 15 minutes, quarter of an hour, by the time we are done walking out the door, we walk back in the door. It just seems so simple. And yet, as we talked about it, we did it twice. We're like, man, we should do this all the time. We should do this every day. We don't. We haven't. And it's interesting because when we do it, when we do the physical activity, when we match it to our capabilities, I think sometimes people go out and they're like, I'm going to run 6 miles. I'm going to run 10 miles. And you haven't run 10 meters. Then you're kind of overreaching, and no wonder you hate it, because you're reaching above what it is that you have the capacity to perform. But we just did a mile. Like, we did a mile. That was good. That's not for everybody, honestly. And we didn't run it fast. However, when we got home and we relaxed, we're back in the house, to look at each other and go, hey, do you want to run a mile? And it does get harder, because it's just not part of what we do. So my suggestion is to try to make it so simple. Run such a short distance that it is simple to do, that you don't need the motivation. All you need the motivation is to do the smallest amount of thing. And the smallest distance that you can run doesn't really need a lot of motivation, because we get super motivated to do things. Like, people are super motivated to stop smoking, and they throw away their cigarettes, and they go to the glove compartment. And they're like, let me throw that one away, my secret one, the one that I'll use in case of emergency. And they throw them all away because they're super motivated. But they didn't decide to stop smoking, because once that motivation wanes and they go, why did I throw those smokes away? And then they go out and buy more. See, that's the problem with relying on motivation. It's fleeting. But when you make decisions, and you stand by those decisions, and you kind of create a covenant with yourself and those around you that this is the change I'm going to make in my life, it becomes stronger. But you start not by running, start running cold turkey. I guess a hot turkey. I don't know if that's not the right thing. Anyway, my point is that stopping smoking cold turkey, some people can do it and some people are successful at it, but a lot of times you have to wean yourself off. Same thing when it starts running, then sometimes and I would say all the time, really, you need to build up to it. There are not many people who can go out and just knock it out of the park and go for a run and be like, man, that's great. Nothing hurts and I feel good. And let's do that again tomorrow. Make it simple enough to do so. And, having a 25 to 40% reduced risk of premature mortality sounds remarkable, and you get to live longer. That sounds amazing. And then there are multiple diseases where running has reported to have benefits for. So, citing this study, it says numerous epidemiological studies have reported associations between running and vigorous exercise and improvements in various chronic risk factors, including hypertension, dyslipidemia, body composition, insulin sensitivity, blood glucose regulation, disability, bone mineral density. And so we're looking at a lot of great things. We also see some studies that says one here for cancers, running and vigorous exercise may reduce some types of cancer related mortality. Well, one of the things it points out, and it continues to say, running and vigorous exercise. Now, some people do vigorous exercise and it ain't running. So when we talk about walking and the guy asked the question about, well, what about running? Then here's the interesting thing. Physiologically, so much of your body has no idea what's going on, right? Your heart doesn't know that you're running. Your heart just knows the request and that it must now start pumping faster in order to provide the oxygen, in order to help get the carbon dioxide out of the way, in order to move nutrients around. The heart just knows I got to pump faster. Now, does it matter if you run? No, definitely not. Does it matter if you are on elliptical or jumping rope or lifting weights? Because I got to tell you that there are some forms of lifting weight. I made a post a few years ago. It says resistance training is my favorite form of cardio. And what do I mean by that? It doesn't mean do a set of squats and rest for 3 minutes in between. That's a great form of strength training exercise. It's great to rest that long so you can build up your ATP-CP stores, your creatine phosphate stores. What is not great is taking that break for your cardiorespiratory fitness. But when you see people doing dumbbell snatches and kettlebell swings and all sorts of things where they're doing circuit training and it's from one hit to the next hit and the heart rate stays up and it's rigorous activity, that's cardiovascular activity. It's resistance training and it's cardio. So we can look at it and we say, yes, you can go for a run. You can do a lot of things that get your heart rate up that are vigorous exercises and that make you work. And some of these vigorous exercises also reduce some types of cancer related mortalities. And I think that's very important to point out. But the benefits, regardless of so many things, and this is pretty incredible, it says that there's compelling evidence that running provides significant health benefits for the prevention of chronic diseases and premature mortality, regardless of sex, age, body weight, and health conditions. Like what? Like somebody who is obese. What does that mean? That means that running can provide significant health benefits, even if you're obese, even if you have high cholesterol, even if you have dyslipidemia, even if you have coronary vascular disease or coronary artery disease, cardiovascular disease. We've got a lot of options here where you can do better through running. And there are a lot of times where you're like, oh, well, I can't do that. I'm too old. Well, you might be too old to run fast, but you may not be too old to run. Now, you may be out of shape where running might be but even dangerous. And I've got a client just because his balance is so bad. I don't want him going for a run. But provided the capability to go for a run, then he would find significant benefits when it comes to his health and preventing chronic diseases. So it doesn't matter. And this is where I keep pointing out, and I've mentioned in many, many podcast episodes and many times when I speak to the public, is that regardless of body weight, you get a lot of benefit from doing exercise, a lot of health benefits. And so many times people say, oh, you got to lose weight. You got to lose weight. I think that, potentially the weight loss will come and maybe it won't. But if you're looking at the health benefits, then the benefits of doing the exercise trumps the benefits of losing the weight. And you can lose the weight and not do the exercise, and you won't gain as many benefits as if you kept the weight and you started exercising. So if you're looking for long-term health benefits, regardless of body weight, then start exercising, get your heart rate up. So running necessarily, I don't know about that. However, getting the heart rate up a little bit higher and doing more vigorous exercise, absolutely. And here's one of the great things about running. One of the best things about running is that it may be the most cost-effective lifestyle medication that you could do. It may be the most cost-effective. It may be the cheapest medicine you can take. And like many medicines, they can be hard to swallow. Might not be the most fun, but what makes it more fun? Doing what you can and not what you can't. Doing a quarter mile when you can't do a full mile. Running a mile and then just taking a moment to walk for 1 or 2 minutes before you pick up and run again. That is effective because you got to do what you can, not what you can't. And there are a lot of people out there doing what they can't, and then they decide, I can't do any of it. I can't go for a run at all because when I run for a mile, it hurts. But when you go for a run and you take a break, even if it's a mile, and you say, I ran for 20 seconds and now my ankle feels a little wonky. I don't like how this feels. Then just walk. And then when you're ready, run for another 20 seconds and then walk. And then run a little longer if you can. And then eventually build up your ability to run more. That's it. And it's cost effective. We talked about benefits. Let's talk about some more that have come up in some of the research. Here's one of the conclusions of a paper that I came across. Conclusion: running even 5 to 10 minutes per day at slow speeds, that's less than 6 miles per hour, is associated with markedly reduced risk of death from all causes and cardiovascular disease. This study may motivate healthy but sedentary individuals to begin and continue running for substantial and attainable mortality benefits. Living benefits to live. We're talking about longevity again. Diabetes from another paper. The result of that paper, during an average follow-up of 6.5 years, 1,015 adults developed type 2 diabetes. Approximately 29.5% of adults participated in leisure time running. At baseline, runners had a 28% confidence interval. So they had a 28% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to non-runners during a follow-up. So we're just looking at the hazard ratio. And in a hazard ratio, you look at how many people that developed type 2 diabetes, how many of them didn't run, how many of them were runners, and those that ran had a 28% lower risk of getting type 2 diabetes. We know also, and this is a study we pulled up, this is a positive effect of running on mental health, and that includes depression, includes anxiety, includes a lot more, but this is a particular study, and they don't know why necessarily. And I find that interesting. Like, sometimes we just don't know why, but I think there are a couple things beyond what's going on physiologically, because there is included in the physiological benefits also a sense of pride and accomplishment that goes along with it, that gives you something to work toward, gives you a sense of accomplishment. But then there are also the actual physical changes that take place that help to support you. And I know there's a lot going on here, right? So I'm going to speak to you from my perspective here, which is I had 2 surgeries on my right knee, one when I was 17, one when I was 19. It's meniscus, all meniscus. And for 20 something years, I've had osteoarthritis. And so running doesn't always feel good. In fact, it's strange. Sometimes while I'm running, it feels fine. It's when I stop, it hurts. So I must continue. No, I definitely stop. But sometimes it keeps me from wanting to go again. And I might be pushing myself, and that could be it. But there are a lot of people that are so concerned about arthritis in their knees, and they're worried about arthritis in their hips. And so I decided just to see what the information was that was out there. And so I found a couple studies. These are meta-analyses, both of them, one on knee osteoarthritis and the other on knee and hip. And it says there's evidence. With this evidence, it is not possible to determine the role of running on knee osteoarthritis. Moderate to low quality evidence suggests that there's no association with OA, osteoarthritis, diagnosis, positive association with OA diagnosis, negative associations with knee surgery and osteoarthritis. So it was kind of all over the place that there were some that there was low evidence suggests no association, some were positive associations, and then there was an increased association for knee surgeries for those that ran. But the second study, knee and hip, concluded that recreational runners have a lower occurrence of osteoarthritis compared with competitive runners and control groups. These results indicated that a more sedentary lifestyle or long exposure to high volume and or high intensity running are both associated with hip and knee OA. But recreational runners tended to have less osteoarthritis. I don't know. To me, it just sounds like there's a lot of benefits to running. So the question that was asked after all the great benefits that were talked about from walking is, what about running? And I think really what it is what about getting your heart rate up and moving a little bit faster? And it seems to be highly beneficial. And I don't think that surprises any of us. So with that being said, I want to say thanks for listening. Share this with a running friend, family member, or a running foe that's like, I don't want to run. I don't want to run. And just see if this is a mild motivation that can help spur them to make a decision or a change that may or may not be beneficial to them. It just depends on them, right? So do what you can, not what you can't, though. And, my other saying is a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. So consider just doing a little bit. Don't think about doing all the running. Don't have to do all the running. How much running did you do? I did all of it. Just do a little bit of it. Just do something. It's better than a whole lot of nothing. All right. You want to reach out to me, hit me up. You can do so on Instagram at dr.rickrichey or email me rick.richey@nasm.org. Keep inspiring people to fitness. Thanks for listening. This has been the NASM-CPT Podcast.